Hello and welcome. My name is Max Corbett. I graduated in the class of 2019, and while at Lasell, I was in the Student Alumni Association for all 4 years and held the VP of Philanthropy and VP of Membership positions. I'm currently employed as a social media coordinator at WorkHuman, a company whose mission is actually to make work culture more human, which is pretty fitting as today I'm joined by some Lasell alumni, Kyle, Kaitlyn, and Jessica, to learn about their experiences and advice when it comes to company culture. Company culture is crucial to productivity, employee morale, and so much more. When you are applying for a role, you are being interviewed, but you are also interviewing the employer. Finding the right culture fit is just as important as what it says in the job description, which is why we are here today to discuss how to find the right fit and what to do if you are seeking ways to alter your work environment. Before we dive into our discussion, it would actually be great if each of you could tell us a little more about yourselves and what you do. We could start with Kyle.
Hey, so Kyle Vergauwen, class of 2018. Currently, I work for Winter Wyman, which is a staffing firm that works mainly in the Boston, New York locations. We actually just switched to being a national staffing firm, super exciting. I specialize within the tech support space, so anybody that's doing help desk or IT support work, that's the people that I help find jobs for.
Very cool. We could jump to Kaitlyn.
Sure. So my name's Kaitlyn Quinn. I am the class of 2014 and then also 2015 with the 5-year program. I currently work at State Street in Human Resources as a talent development program manager.
Very cool. And Jess?
Hi, my name's Jess. I graduated in 2016. I work at Dana-Farber. I'm a clinical coordinator here, and I help schedule like chemos and exams for leukemia, lymphoma, bone marrow, and hematology. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We can dive right into the first question. So it is, how would you describe company culture and why is it crucial for an employee's personal, mental, and professional success? Whoever wants to start can jump in, or we can go down the line with Kyle again.
No problem. I'll take it away. Okay. So I describe company culture as ultimately just the feeling of the company. I think every job that you go into has a different feeling, a different vibe, and I think that the ultimate company culture is just that feeling you get while you're there. I think it's important for companies to value it. I would imagine some take it more seriously than others. And I think that it is the ultimate reason why people either stay or leave a company. I think it all has to do with how you feel when you're going to work. You know, everyone's looking for that perfect job, but I think that you don't even need to find that if you're just pleasant and happy with going to work every day. Of course, there's going to be good days and bad days, some be better than others. But if overall you think, you know, the company cares about me, I care about the company, then that's, I think, what every company really is looking for.
I agree.
Yeah, I completely agree with Kaitlyn. I just think it's about, you know, how people feel about going to work and how they feel supported. And, you know, I think it's important that the company's there for the people to back them up and, you know, help them have that positive view when they go into work and stuff.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, I feel company culture really can create the type of environment that you do or do not want on an annual work day. You know, conversations that happen can be completely made better or worse by the type of culture that's around, the type of feel that you have going into work or working from home these days. Depending on how that company culture is in terms of flexibility, you can feel comfortable to really, come out and be yourself more on a day-to-day basis and really put your heart more into the job than trying to, fit into this culture that may not be something that's advantageous to you as a person.
Yeah, I agree. And it helps you do better work and feel more comfortable and all that stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So having the right company culture, like once you're there, is important, but before you apply to an open position or while you're going through the process, are there ways to learn about the culture, like if they value their employees or if working there is going to give you what you envision to be a healthy work-life balance?
I think the easy answer is to look up the reviews made by previous employees / current employees. Glassdoor is probably the best one that I use when personally looking for my next role. Indeed has some good reviews as well. You can even go on Google reviews. To kind of sort them, there'll be ones that are amazing that you may not be able to, fully believe in. There'll be some that are really bad that you may not fully be able to believe in. You got to kind of sort through a couple different ones to really get an idea of the true feeling of what they're going to be like, rather than just going by 1 or 2 reviews.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, especially with sites like Glassdoor, you're going to get a whole bunch of different employees. Some that'll probably be never happy working, some that could find a problem with anything, and then others that have some real good concrete advice and experiences. And I think, like Kyle was saying, it's filtering through those to see what is maybe the most applicable to you. If there's something you're particularly concerned about when looking for a new role, to see if someone has the same concern that you have, then maybe that's a good way to see if it's not a good fit, no matter what the job description says. But if you're able to look and they have a lot of the same comments that you're looking for in terms of what you are looking for in a role, then it's definitely worth exploring. I think any role is worth exploring, even if some of the comments on some of the employer websites aren't that great, only because it's good to get an opinion for yourself. But while you're going through the interview process, you think, there's a couple of red flags here. There were a couple of red flags on a website I saw. Maybe it's just not a good fit.
Makes a lot of sense. So now we're in the next stage. So say you are like, okay, from the outside in, it looks good. Glassdoor was good. LinkedIn looks good. I want to go in. And you get an interview. How can an employee going through the interview stage of the hiring process, what are some warning signs, either good or bad, or are there tips that you could give or examples of questions that you guys have used to find out a little bit more about the company culture once you're, in the door a little bit?
In terms of, I feel like during the interview stage can either be the easiest or the hardest time to really find out about a company's culture. I think, during the interview, if you're allowed to do a tour of the office, that's absolutely huge. You can kind of see what environment people are in, if they're talking to one another, if they seem relaxed, or if they seem super stressed out, overworked. That's probably not going to change with adding you into the company. So, just being able to view the overall, I guess the best word would be vibe or culture that you can visibly view is a really big ideal for me. And I always make sure to ask if it's not offered, if you can have that tour, because being able to see everybody in the actual work environment is huge. In terms of the best question to ask, one that I always went back to that really gave me an idea of what they're looking for is, who's the favorite person that you ever hired for this role? And that's great because it shows, kind of what they're looking for. They may talk about it as, I hired Kevin and he was great because he would work whatever hours I wanted, hard as he could. And if you're hearing that, alarms are going off. You're going, okay, so they want someone that's going to put in as much effort as possible and work extra hours. And if that's not what you're looking for, that's kind of, just the biggest red flag to say, all right, maybe this isn't for me. Or if they're saying, I loved Kevin, we had great conversations, I really helped to build him as an employee. He sadly isn't with us anymore. He grew out of this company. But I do wish him the best, and we really enjoyed the time we had together. That shows that they're looking to grow people. They're okay with, having conversations and letting people grow past a company, which is super important in terms of having a great manager that's going to help in your career for, just the present and then the future as well.
Awesome example.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with the tour piece of it. I think that anytime you can see something firsthand and make your own immediate kind of opinions on it is so much better than just listening to honestly what the manager wants you to believe. To Kyle's point, you could have that same manager saying that Kevin was working, 80 hours a week, but then also in the next sentence saying that they value work-life balance and that they find it really important for people to be able to take vacation and, these days log off at a normal time. But then if you have your ideal employee working 80 hours a week, it's tough to be able to actually see what the culture is. And I think if you're able to get a tour or shadow somebody, or just maybe even meet with other members of the team, you can find some of those subtle hints to see if it really is the culture you're looking for. And maybe you are looking for a job where you're working around the clock and, really your life is dedicated to the job, and that's fine. But you'll want to find an employer that also values that too, and not a manager who's looking for someone to really just work that 9 to 5. I think another good question to ask is, what happens if someone calls out sick? I know I've had managers who, like, if someone, they're basically not allowed to call out sick. It's, and most of it was like my fast food part-time jobs where it's like you kind of need that extra body there. But, if you have a well-run team, then it doesn't matter really if someone isn't there any given day, because you should be able to cover and the teammates should be able to know. And that's always a culture that I look for, is a really solid team environment that we all are quick to cover for each other. And if someone has to step away for whatever reason, it's no big deal.
I think it's also important to ask personality traits they look for hiring the position you're looking for, because I think that speaks a lot to the team you're going to be entering, hopefully. And you can kind of get an idea if, the tour is not an option. You can kind of get an idea from that of the people that they, like to bring into the company and stuff. And I think it's also important to ask about career development within the organization or company. I know it's kind of a nerve-wracking question to ask if you're like entering a new company, but I think it shows how the company supports its team basically, and how it can help you grow as an individual and in the workplace, which is kind of important for everyone.
Our next question is kind of once you're already in the office. So say you go through all those stages and it's great, and you come on as an employee, but you realize you're actually in a toxic work environment or an environment that's not so great. Are there any actionable steps that you guys have seen or taken to improve it or work on it?
So fortunately, I haven't been in this position firsthand, but I've helped to coach some other people that I've worked with in the past go through this. Maybe if it's just not clicking with a manager, or maybe the role isn't exactly what you're looking for. And I think it's, giving it all you have for, a certain amount of time. And I think it's important for you to determine that, because then it also gives you a deadline to say, okay, if it's still not working, it's truly toxic, it's not for me. I gave it all I had for, let's say, 30 days. Once I realized I didn't like it here, and that's when I started to look elsewhere. And I think it's important to determine what exactly you find toxic, whether it be just the manager, the company values, the role itself. Maybe it's a teammate that you're not clicking with. And then I think it's using that just as a development opportunity for future roles you're looking for. Maybe it's a management style that you just don't enjoy. I mean, there's so many different managers out there. And it's in your next interview, making sure that it's a manager who doesn't seem to have those traits. And of course, any new job you take is always going to be a gamble, because what you learn in the interviews and meeting with the teammates, you don't 100% know what it's going to look like day to day, and you don't really know how you'll feel about it once you're in those shoes. But I think once you learn truly what you like and don't like and find toxic, it's trying to help move forward from it, either with a new role or trying to change your attitude a little bit, maybe just to make the immediate better. Maybe it is like a teammate that you're just not working well with. The communication style is totally different. And it's just learning how to meet halfway to make it more pleasant for both of you. Because leaving your job isn't always an option. But also, like, you don't want to be running around frustrated all the time either. So it's finding that perfect balance of being content every day, maybe realizing, and once you come to terms with the fact that this isn't going to be where you work forever, maybe that's all you need to just sort of relax and think that there is other options out there. But I think it's just trying to think about what is toxic to you. I know people are so quick to say, like, I hate this job. It's like, well, why? And I think once you realize that why, and you can think of actionable items either for the immediate or long term, helps you get into that mindset of just being more positive in general.
I agree. That definitely rolls into the next question as well. I mean, think about both of these. I'd give you the other two time to answer, but again, say some small steps too that contribute to the positive work environment. So yes, it may be toxic, but what are some tips and tricks for, small things you can do personally before you say, this job isn't for me, or how can you be sure you're fully adding as well? Kind of combine these two questions together. Kyle, looked like you had something.
Yeah, kind of like Kaitlyn, I've been fortunate enough to not have been in a toxic environment for company culture myself. So the best advice I can give is kind of cliche, but it's really to be the change you wish to see. And a lot of that should involve a timeline as well. I don't like X or Y about a company. I'm going to work my best to, not be a gossiper or, whatever the situation may be. And if it's a situation, give yourself 30 days, see if you can see an impact based on your actions as well. If you can't, then it may not be something that you yourself can fix. And that's okay to admit to yourself. It's just, again, like Kaitlyn mentioned, just kind of learning things that are, toxic in a company that maybe aren't the biggest deal to you, and things that are really a deal breaker, and kind of choosing your next company based on that, and just learning and hoping to grow based on each position you get.
I completely agree with Kyle and Kaitlyn. I mean, you're kind of the only person you have in charge of is yourself, and you control your happiness. And at the end of the day, if you're unhappy, I think it's always important to first look at stuff that you can do in order to make sure that that's there. And, sometimes it's the hardest thing to do, but it's the best thing to do. And like both of them, luckily, I haven't been put in that position, but I mean, it's something that I feel like we all will face at some point, but it's kind of important to see what you can do in order to make the situation you're in better. And then at the end of the day, if there's nothing, then go from there. But besides that, I think it's important to focus on yourself to see what you can do to make situations like that, change.
That's an awesome point. See what you can do. Make it better before you think it's, too big or anything like that. So with that, kind of when it comes to the company and things like that, are there employee programs or incentives that you think companies could have or should have that they would benefit from, as well as their employees?
I think that any employee likes a rewards type program, whether it's just being recognized for maybe going above and beyond, or maybe tackling something specific that the company is focusing on in different goals at the time. I know that it's probably more challenging to do in a remote type environment where, maybe it's a gift card program you have or some type of a gift, and it's obviously not as instantaneous to be able to just receive it at your desk. But I think that it's still something that in this digital world, I'm seeing a lot of companies on LinkedIn starting to use like kudos or just any type of little social media, or even if it's, on an intranet that's company specific. I think anytime that you're recognized, employees like it, and employees work to strive to get there. And so I think it doesn't always need to be like money or raises or promotions or anything like that. I think just those little thank you moments, or even public recognition at some sort, whether it be, like I said, on LinkedIn or something in the company, I think that's what employees are looking for. I am curious to see what the future of employee recognition looks like with everything changing right now, because I think there's probably a lot of creativity that could be coming out of this type of environment we're in, where it's not so much just in the office doing stuff or like being recognized at a staff meeting. So I'm curious to see what the future looks like with all of this, because I think there's a lot of room for growth here.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in celebrating success as a group. So whether it be, you hit your numbers as a company, and actually blew them away this month, just rewarding that as a company. And that could be, if it's bigger, it could be, everybody gets an hour off and we all bring ice cream and just enjoy a nice quick ice cream social. It really helps to improve company culture. Everybody gets along. Everybody gets to, ask how are things outside of work. If it's a smaller company, you can do something like a bowling day, just anything that really is a nice reward for any success that you have. It brings people together, and it makes people excited about, coming into that next day of work and trying to achieve that next success.
I really do think it's like the smallest things can kind of make you feel, great about situations. I think it was like maybe last week or the week before, we had a former nurse on the floor that I am lucky to work on actually donated cupcakes to us. And, it was just like the littlest thing, but it made us all so happy and kind of, realize that we are working hard right now. We're going through, an interesting period, and having that support there kind of came out of the blue, but it was also great to kind of be recognized for, everything that we're doing right now, which is great. And it's just the littlest things. Even today, I got a little pin when I checked in, and I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, and I put it on my badge, right away. And just, it's the small things that kind of make you happy that you don't realize.
That's awesome. That was the final question we had for you guys today. If you guys have any more comments or questions or anything like that, feel free to ask them now.
Just feel free to reach out if you need any advice or someone to just bounce ideas off of. I think that's the entire idea of an alumni organization, is just to be able to reach out to those who are going through it right alongside you, have been, right where you are. So definitely feel free to reach out. I'm sure they'll add our LinkedIn's in this video description somewhere. So definitely feel free to send me a message. I'd love to help you in any way possible if it's within my means.
Awesome.
I agree. I'm always happy to be a resource. And I think that during these times when it can be challenging, I think it's also a great opportunity for change and growth. And I think it's nice to see how different roles and jobs are shifting. And I think that, I think it's kind of been that push that we need to shift some of the company culture. And I know people are always so, anxious and hoping to be able to work from home more often. And I think companies are learning how to do that more. I think it'll change culture and the future workforce a little bit once we're all kind of back to normal. And I think that, anytime you're in a job and you're able to just be positive and, even if you're not really feeling it, it's kind of that fake it till you make it. And eventually once, the positivity gets contagious and everyone starts to feel happy, then, you'll just feel more pleasant being at work and be able to enjoy what your job truly is, and not so worried about, like Kyle was saying earlier, the gossip or any of that kind of, I see it a lot with like, bigger companies. It's just easy to fall into these traps. And I think if you're just yourself and the best employee you can be, then you're just doing it.
Yeah. Like they were just saying, I'm always here to help and to encourage positive workspace and stuff. So, feel free to reach out if anyone needs it or has any questions about what's going on in this world and stuff like that. I'm happy to help. So
Wonderful. Well, I think you guys gave some awesome insight into company culture, what it is, how to navigate it, how to understand it. I want to thank you guys for your time. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people find the right fit for them.